happy Labor Day weekend. It is a holiday weekend, and we are off. And I am currently dipping my toes in the sand on the sunny beaches of Cancun, Mexico. Yep, that's right. So, without any further ado, we're going to run back an older episode with our guy, Jake One, a.k.a. Snare Jordan, who is also one half of the supergroup Tuxedo with Mayor Hawthorne. I could sit here and name his accolades, but the list goes on and on and on, from G-Unit to De La Soul to Freeway, MF Doom, John Cena, yes, that John Cena, Ghostface, T.I., Snoop Dogg. The list goes on and on and on. Just sit back, relax, and listen to this episode from when we first started the show with our guy, Mr. Snare Jordan. Jake One.
Can it be, people? Good Lord. Oh, here we go. You hear it. Welcome to the Chop Shop. I am Eddie James. Next to me is my VIP, very Italian person. Fastest hands in the tri-state. God damn it. My brother from another mother. DJ, yeah. DJ React.
Yes, sir. What's happening?
Man, I can tell you what's happening. We have one of the illest producers on the planet. Hails from Seattle, Washington. They call him Snare Jordan. As you can hear.
Very fitting name, by the way.
Hardest beat. Pause. Currently, he will be starring in the new White Man Can't Jump movie with vitamin D. Apparently, because he has a basketball game. I'm just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, Jake One.
What's up? What's up?
Yeah. At the Chop Shop.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, I got hip to you guys through Vitamin coming over here and taking the mic the other night and has not brought it back. So my audio might be a little diminished.
Oh, so he took your microphone. Okay.
He took my microphone.
He was acting all cool and everything. What you mean? Yeah. I mean, you know, of course I came prepared. Like he took your mic. like people that work construction, like they'd be like, let me grab this saw from down the street. Like, yeah, that was kind of what he did. Yeah, man. Like, you know, you're not getting it back for another week. Actually, you have to go over and get it.
I mean, I don't really like recording anybody, so it's always a good excuse to be like, man, I don't even have a mic. Like, nah, we're not doing that here. I'm never really, having a problem with the mic being gone at the same time.
Wow. Like I said, man, we are so happy that you came on the show, man. I was thrilled, before we were talking off camera, how the song You Hate very much that you sampled. And it's definitely the top 3, maybe hardest rap records or rap joints ever, like hip hop records.
Man, thank you, man. Ever. Wow.
We all know that as Rock Cocaine by De La Soul and Doom. The beat, I mean, just we'll get into that later on, but man, we are just happy to have you here, man. And we're going to get into it, man. We were talking to Vitamin D and he said, that you guys were collaborating still, and you guys went into the future, went into your past and everything. And I see that you've been rocking with Vitamin D for a very long time. Was he a part of your original crew, and how'd you get into this thing called hip hop and music, man?
I probably first heard of Vita. I was a freshman in high school, and I don't know if he might have been a senior by then. He's a little older than me. I think he's a year or two older than me. I'm not sure.
He's one year older than you, I think.
Right. So I went to an assembly, and I was like, hold on, man, there's like guys up there with turntables, and they had their own songs, and I just was so baffled by that because you just didn't see that. This is like 1991. That's some rare ass shit. So that's when I first became aware of Vitamin. Maybe that summer, my neighbor started doing songs with them. My boy Hussein, who was like kind of my rap partner. And at that time I had moved to the suburbs, so I was gone. I didn't, I missed all this. So came home at some point and my friend Hussein plays me his tape. He's like, yeah, these guys ghetto children. They go to Garfield. I was like, I couldn't believe that somebody from Seattle made something that I liked that much. you know, just because, you know, it sounded like what we were listening to at the time, right? The Tribes and Jungle Brothers and whatever else. So I just became a straight super fan at that point. Like, I was always like I'm like, I'd see Hussein. I come back on the weekend. Man, let me get you guys new tapes. You know, he dubbed me and stuff. And then eventually, I want to say maybe my junior or senior year of high school, I ran into him in a record store. Yeah. I think he was on a mission, you know, might have had a bunch of records in his back, small of his back then. He was moving crazy back then. And, you know, I just told him who I was. He was like, oh, okay, what's up? Whatever. Anyway, so later on, somebody brought me over his house, another homie of mine from childhood, and I played my beats for him, and he was just kind of like, this is cool, man. He was like, you didn't mean to put them two samples together, though. I know you didn't. And I was like, fuck, you're right. You're right.
He already dissected your music and
he
shit.
He just was always that guru in that way, like, I think for our whole neighborhood. So you know, time goes on, I get better, he gets better. I just got to be around him and watch him do his stuff a lot. So man, that's really dope. He was never like reluctant to share techniques and all that kind of stuff, which, you know, a lot of old dudes were haters, you know. That was in that time, you know. So I feel like I try to take that same approach he did to everybody else that came underneath me. Like, I give them whatever I have as far as, you know, my knowledge of how to do any of this shit. You know? Yeah,
that's paying it forward, man.
Yeah,
that's really dope. We speak of your earlier days. So even before that, I'm aware that you are a DJ, right?
Yeah, I could do, you know, a little taste. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself. I really don't like DJing. I'm not gonna lie. At this point, when I DJ, it's because they just paid me too much money. So, but I think that was my first goal, right? Like, on my street, there was a dude that was like DJing across the street. So summertime, you know, playing Cameo or Gap Band, you know, that time, early 80s. And I just was fascinated by the music. And then when Sugar Hill and all that hit, like the Sugar Hill records, rap just caught me, man. And then, you know, obviously the breakdance era, I was doing windmills, all that shit. I was all about it. I was writing graffiti as a little kid. Like, I think we all thought we had to do that.
That's where I was leading into, like, you know, when I listened to your music too, like some of your stuff. And I forgot to mention Party People. He is one half of one of a super group called Tuxedo with Mayor Hawthorne, funk inspired. When I listened to it. So, you know, those earlier years, you said that you were into the Gap Band or Funkadelic, and were you that kid that had it in the house, or was your parents playing it? It always interests me for my white brothers who really have fucking soul. Excuse my language, but have it. I'm always intrigued to know the upbringing, because when I listen to your music, man, and close my eyes, it reminds me of my childhood, like the Tuxedo joints, you know.
I think as like a white dude in hip hop, probably have a very different background than most of them do, because I really was raised around a lot of black folks. A lot of black people took care of me. Like, our neighbors were black people. So my family would drop me with the Harris family, and I would be in there for the whole summer. So I'm just soaking up what's going on. This is as like a baby, you know, till probably I was like maybe 10 years old. It just was, I didn't think of it as being different until I got older. And I'm like, oh, people didn't really come to it this way.
Yeah.
And that was unique. You know, that was just something. My parents were really hippies. So like, when we moved to this area, a lot of white people didn't live here. So, you know, my parents were just that type to do stuff like that, because they were kind of radicals in that time, very politically active and stuff like that. So then, you know, my dad was like, I look at him as like he was like a backpacker kind of, because he was into just weird ass jazz, right? Like, I went to a Sun Ra concert as a kid. I mean, that's the kind of shit he was into.
Like Pharoah Sanders type shit, right?
Yes, Pharoah Sanders, Coltrane, you know, like we had pictures of these guys on our wall, like they were family, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's really dope. So, I mean, were you really, were you into the music back then, or you just like, what the hell is
not that stuff at all, man. I'm not gonna lie. I would be like, I hated it. He would take me to like jazz concerts and stuff, and I'd just be like, I just want to hear Run DMC. Like, come on, like, why can't we just be regular? You know, At that time, I thought we were it felt like I was just strange. Like I didn't really fit in with anybody in my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but do you appreciate it now, man? And do you really appreciate it? Because I actually,
I appreciate
I've
it
grown.
a lot. I really appreciate it a lot. I think it's funny. Somebody told me like when I had a kid, I'm like, man, you probably gonna like jazz when you have a kid. And I was like, it kind of turned that way for me, I think,
Just the story. I can just see a young Jake at like a jazz concert, and you just like rocking your Adidas and shit, and like just
I mean, I
pissed
have
off.
the pictures, with the Kango and all that. Like it's just,
Yeah.
you know,
you and your pop,
me,
your pops
me and
like
other random
smiling.
little kids. Yeah, he was in his zone.
Man,
I mean, my
that's
dad
dope.
brought me to see Gil Scott Heron. I saw a lot of people when I was a kid. Like that was like normal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that was playing in my household. Like, I mean, that was a little bit more soulful. Yeah, my pops was not playing like, Pharoah Sanders and Coltrane. It was more like, Harlem River Drive and,
That's amazing though.
Joe Sample, Crusaders and stuff like that, things that had funk in it. Talk to us about your earlier days of wanting to do beats.
I really can just remember the moment that I even understood what beats were. I mean, obviously I was a hip hop fanatic, and I think I associated DJing as being what, even a beat was at that point. But so I was always wanted to scratch and stuff like that. But my dad moved to Hawaii, I think my freshman year of high school. So I went out and visited him, and I went to like a Goodwill and bought a James Brown Funky People tape. And when I heard that, it just like blew my mind. Every song that I loved, came from that tape basically. And then I was like, I know what the good loops are. I could find that stuff. I could find other records, There he is.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And from there we just rate our parents' records, and my parents had some cool records. Like my stepdad had Gene Harris, Astral Signals and Donald Byrds and stuff. Like I had some good ones. So that kind of set me up to, be a little better as far as that than maybe the regular person,
So beat making and your first sampler, what even possessed you to think that like, all right, what, I want to be behind that. I just want to do the beats.
Man, what it really was hearing my boy Hussein doing songs with Vitamin and them guys. Like I was probably like summer of 91, and I was just like, damn, I want to make beats. We had the little Casio like everybody did. So we do the hand loop or whatever. We're doing that at first. And then I had like a summer job, and I just went in the paper and looked for anything that says sampler. And I just bought the one I could afford off a random guide. Like no idea what any of it did.
A Casio.
Well, I think this was a Roland rack mount or something later on.
Okay.
Which I could like loop a sample, and that was probably about it. And then the next thing I got that was kind of where I really started making more legitimate beats was an Emax rack mount.
Okay.
So I had that. I was making beats on that, but it didn't have a sequencer, so it was real janky how I was doing it. Yeah. And then this is when I started hanging out with Vita. He's like, man, you need to get a sequencer. And I was like, what's that? What does that do? You know what I mean? Like, he's like, well, man, if you want to like make the kick do this and the snare do this. I was like, oh shit, okay, that's how they do it. So I went and bought I sold my first beat to a dude named Native Son.
Wait a minute, really?
I was good enough at making beats with just loops that like people were liking my beats, at least,
I mean, so you had the sampler. Were you tracking it once at a time?
I was just triggering it with a keyboard.
Okay.
It had a weird function on the Emax, and I don't even know how I figured this out. You could hit record, press like a drum loop, and hit stop when the drum loop ends, and that's your loop. And then I would just fit in whatever with that drum loop. So I might loop the drums from Nobody Beats the Biz or whatever the hell it was, right?
Yeah.
And then I put my Crusaders on it, and then I have like, we would have those changes that made no sense. You just put like as many loops in there as you could, and you're just soloing mutant. And that's the first beat I sold was one of those, you know what I mean?
That's
and
dope.
I went to the studio the first time, which was a studio right up the street from my house where they did like some big E40 records and stuff like that. Sam Stevens studio. And they were like, so you need to track it out, make it do it like, make it this part come in this. And I was doing it all manually. So I just was so frazzled. I had no idea. I was like, but I don't know how, like didn't know how to separate the sounds. So the dude who bought the beat from me was like, man, I'm gonna give you this money. Go, get the sequencer. So then I bought the MMT8, and that was when I first started sequencing.
That's dope.
Elisa's MMTA, right? Yeah. It's like it's a gray one, I think. Yeah. I got a picture of that somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, man. We all got janky equipment stories, man. They all know about my situation. Pedal sampler and HR 16 Elisa's.
Yeah. See, that was the drum machine for Elisa's, right? It was the same.
Yeah.
They had the drum machine, the sequencer, right?
Yeah.
And Vita had the HR 16 back then. I remember
That's
thinking,
what he said.
this is crazy.
Yeah.
But he was really getting it to do some shit. Like his beats sounded like real beats. Like he was really advanced with this stuff. I mean, I know he had family history with all of it, so
yeah, man.
He had a leg up, but he just had some ingenuity with it from the beginning,
Well, he said that he was really into your shit. I mean, when he first heard your joints, he was like, "Oh shit, okay, yeah, for real."
Well, it's funny because like the dudes like Vita and his cousin, my boy Samson, they were like my sounding boards, right? I play my beats and they'd be like, "Man, you got a good ear for samples and stuff, but man, you gonna run out of loops and get whack." They used to tell me stuff like that, right? So he's like, "Man, you better learn how to chop or." He's like, "Man, can't you play a bass line and key?" I mean, they would be on my ass. I needed it though. You know what I mean?
Word.
Like,
okay.
I didn't have any sort of idea. I just would grab a couple samples, put them together, and be like, "This sounds cool. This sounds like something Pete Rock would do or whatever." They were invaluable in that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And speaking of those earlier days, man, in Seattle, like being from Seattle, I know that Sir Mix-a-Lot is from Seattle.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Is it safe to say that Baby Got Back changed your life?
Oh my god!
Because it put y'all on the map, and I know, were you feeling a way?
The thing is, we loved, like, before he even came out with Posse on Broadway, which was, I don't know, 6-7 years before that, right?
That was before
he would
that.
have a song on our local radio. He'd have a song every week on this rap show. So we were really on him way before he even came out with Posse on Broadway and all that. And we had a lot of pride for him. I would see him driving his car. I think he had a Cadillac with like Mix-a-Lot on license plate. You would do shit like that back in the day. So he was a legend.
Or he was pretty gangster with it too.
I don't know, man. I mean, he's I'm sure the area he's from, he had some of those around him, as everybody probably did during those times. But yeah, by 94, when we're like trying to be Pete Rock and, Dre and Quick, and then he does Baby Got Back, like, nah, we weren't really messing with it. But I wouldn't say I was an active hater. There was definitely more of the older generation because they were closer to him, right? They were fucking hating. I was kind of like, whatever, I don't even care about this. Like, this don't mean nothing to me,
And that would have to feel just crazy for me, like, to just knowing that guy was in my reach, and he just not only comes with a record, but like an anthem hit, smash record. I mean, a record that in 2023 is buying him new Lamborghinis to this day. Like, when I see him, that's what he's on. He's buying a new Lamborghini. He's like, "Oh man, this car is crazy." I did something with him recently. It was probably like 6 months ago. We were on one of these Zoom kind of things, and I was like, I pulled out the DMX and showed him. He's like, "Yeah, that was when I was really doing it for the love." I'm like, "See?" Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, because I forgot about Posse's on Broadway. That was an ill record.
That was a dope record. That was a really dope record.
Didn't Jim Jones redo that record?
I know 40 did someone. I think Dipset did. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those. It sounds like hip hop now, right? Like if you listen to the beat, it's not that different than what it is now. Yeah, some ones did. His first two albums I liked a lot. It probably wasn't until Beepers and all that I wasn't really into that as much. Like, but the shit, hip hop changed so fast in those times. They're like,
oh yeah.
New equipment came out, and then they were just on to a new style, and we were like, "Oh, but Nas is out now. Like, you can't. Why would we listen to this when Nas is out? Or
that's true.
In a major way, E40.
Yeah. Hearing your beats, you mentioned Pete Rock. Can you elaborate about some of your inspirations earlier in those days?
I mean, when I started, it was really Premier, Pete Rock. I liked a lot of West Coast guys too, like especially when the West Coast guys were sampling. There was a lot of like bass stuff that was really big here. So there was this dude TC who did like RBL Posse and Totally Insane. I listened to those as much as like the Pete Rocks and stuff like that.
Oh, as equally.
Yeah, because that was what was big here. You know, like the people that were listening to the Gangstars and that kind of stuff, that wasn't what was popular, you know, at least in our area.
Yeah. They tell you, get the hell up out of here with that shit.
I mean, there would definitely be, you know, you might try to put that kind of stuff on in somebody's car and they'd be like, nah, man. I mean, I had a friend that would always try to play like Ultramagnetic in like those environments and just get skewered. Like they just didn't want to hear it. You know what I mean? They just didn't want to hear it.
Especially, you know, the rhyme style of Cool Keith and shit, because, you know, he was unorthodox with it.
Right. So like, you know, that's just not for everybody, but you know, that stuff, you know, obviously Quick was a big one because Quick was sampling, especially the first couple albums, like the Quick is the Name and Second and None's first album. Like incredible. I loved the shit out of those albums. Like,
which one was Bitch Better Have My Money?
That was AMG's right. Solo, and it's funny. AMG actually told me he did that beat, so you know, everybody got those stories, I guess. Too. Yeah.
Or I thought Quick did that one up.
And Second and None says they kind of did their beats too, so I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I meet any of these guys I look to in that way, I'd always just, you know, ask them questions. Like anytime I'm with Premier, I'm just getting on his nerves. Like, but did you really take the snare from the beat nuts? Because that hurts me if that really did happen. That's what I think. And he would just be like, man, why are you bringing this up?
Yeah, like, oh, you talk about his signature snare that he used on.
Well, there's a couple, man. You know, I'm not gonna blow them up, but yeah, I mean,
we love
we all romanticize a certain thing about the people we grew up listening to, and
absolutely.
Premier's price. Still my favorite, you know what I mean? He's still number one, but like there was these rules that like the OGs around me were trying to have me adhere to that clearly didn't matter to the dudes that were making the shit, you know?
That's wild. I think React has one of your first records, one or two.
Check it out.
Yeah.
It's like
there's a really funny story about this one.
It's about to happen right about now. You know what I'm saying, Eclipse? Yeah. MCs out there, your best stand clear. AR Eclipse is a world premiere. We put it down for a town in your atmosphere.
Hey, this shit knocks.
Yeah, it does. This shit goes.
This one got some burn. This one kind of got some burn, actually.
Yeah, shout out to Eclipse. World premiere. World premiere. Yeah. So was I mean they say that was your first joint, but I actually heard
it was. Yeah, there's some ones before that, but that's probably the first one that even made any noise, I think.
So talk about that record, and then I think we have another record that I think might have went before it, because when I hear it...
So I did that one, that was when I got an EPS 16 Plus. I did that beat on the 16 Plus, and that's what started me into being in Sonic Dude.
Okay.
And RC is like still like one of my best friends. He's from Toronto, and I met these group of guys from Toronto, mainly this guy, Mr. Attic, who was a producer for this group called Grassroots, and he did like Old Time Killing for Cardinal, he did a lot of joints. Actually.
Yeah.
And I just loved the way his beat sounded, so that's what made me buy EPS 16 Plus. And he really schooled me on how to use that thing like over the phone, you know, like back then. So that beat right there, right? The world premiere.
What year
there
was
that? An R&B. That was probably 96, maybe. I might have made it in 95, but that actually got jacked for an R&B remix for Nicole Ray on Elektra Records. And Cameron has a verse on it. It's literally the same beat. On some really wild shit, I ended up meeting the dude that made the beat way later in life, Brian Morgan, who is SWV's producer, right?
Yeah.
Who wrote all those songs. And he told me the story was that he was in the studio. He had bought a bunch of records from Fat Beats, and he just did a blend off of my beat with her vocals playing. And Missy was like, "We're using it." And it was like it was a promo only 12-inch. I think it's called Nicole. You can't see. I can't see.
I'm sorry, Jake. He looked at your vinyl in the studio when he bought it and saw Seattle, Washington. He was like, "These motherfuckers ain't gonna know about this.
They ain't gonna hear this shit." Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead, brother.
But you know what's really funny about when it first happened? I had like, you know, homies of mine that had service as a DJ call me like, "Yo, man, they stole your beat." And I had been through that before because, you know, all of us use the same damn loop. So like maybe I use a loop from the Blackbirds and Tupac comes out with a song and my friends would be like, "Man, Tupac stole your beat." I'm like, not really. It's just kind of the same sample, whatever. So when I heard this one, I was like, holy shit, they really did steal my beat. because I programmed that whole shit, you know? Anyways, it was promo only. I didn't make no money. We couldn't sue them. We wanted to, but you know, nothing came of it. But that made me believe that I was good though, that they was good enough to steal from me. I'm like, oh, I got some shit. And bonus, when Gangstar did Moment of Truth tour, they came out to that beat. Like Premier played that beat and they came out to it. Yeah.
That's
so, you
dope.
know, that's my hero. I just felt like I was like, I made it, you know?
I still would have saw that dude though. I would have saw him. I would have shot him a fair one, bro. Like,
see, I don't think I met him till 20 years later or something. Like way later.
I would be like, yo, why do you think you can just steal people's shit? And then
yeah,
give me
it's
your
crazy.
money,
like me and him were actually like homies, and yeah, that dude he
was your homie, the guy who stole from you?
No, way later on. Like I met him and we're homies now.
Oh, okay, all right.
But this dude
talented
wrote,
brother though.
He wrote Weak. His name just on that shit.
I know. He's very, very talented. One of the better songs and better albums, actually.
Hell yeah.
The whole SWV movement. Play the other record, React. I think this record might have came before.
I'm curious what this is gonna be. Oh yeah. This might have been like a couple of months before.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so listen to the bass line and how off it is, though.
I be the MC with complex rhyme telepathy, hollow point holes and
not the right notes. Not the right notes. No, sir. Yeah, so nobody around me was like, hey, man, that might not be right in there.
Usually it's the engineer that always say, hey,
guess who was the engineer? Somebody didn't know what the hell they doing. Me.
Oh, fucking vitamin. I was about to say vitamin D.
Vita would have been on my ass if he'd have been there for that one.
Hey, but it still slapped. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what's really random is, it was a David Oliver sample I used back then. I was like, ooh, nobody knows about this one. David Oliver. It was kind of crazy to use him in whatever I was, 95 or something.
Yeah.
I brought David Oliver back last year with Larry June, so that was cool to only 28 years difference.
We'll get into Larry June in a little bit, man, because that guy's a walking legend right now. The way he's doing it, man.
He's killing it.
Oh, he's killing it, man. For real. Shouts to Larry June, man. So those records were late 90s. And we're moving into 2000s.
So that the label is called Conception, and my big homie Supreme, that was his label. So, it's just whatever songs I was doing with people, that's what kind of came out. So those were like some of the first songs I've probably ever done in a studio. And I didn't really know what I was doing, obviously, but I could stumble on something good on occasion. And that whole situation fizzled out. And I went to the Gavin convention. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh my God. I went to the Gavin convention in 1993.
All right. So this was probably 98 in San Diego. And I brought like 20 beat tapes or something. And I just handed beats off, because I was like, I got to get out of Seattle. I'm seeing also like what Vita's going through by producing all his homies and locals, that it wasn't going where he wanted it to go. So I kind of learned a lesson from just seeing that. So I give out like 20 tapes. My boy Cupfather, rest in peace, was the weed man of the whole function. He had the Seattle weed, which was a powerful thing in those days. So he was, he would give somebody some weed and then give my beat tape. That was kind of how it was going. And then when I got home, I probably had maybe like 8 people called me, which seemed like pretty crazy, like for that time. That was, I want to say 1999. So it's like High Tech, the dudes from Mood, like some people was like actually ended up being something, right?
Yo, word, that's dope.
Yeah, back then. So, and I ended up getting my first manager, who was this dude Walt Liquor.
Oh my God,
his name was Walt. His name was Walt Liquor.
Walt Liquor. Yeah.
You trusted a guy with your career named Walt Liquor.
Like Malt Liquor, Walt Liquor.
Yeah, no, I used to, Coquille,
I did, right? Well, I was a youngster, man. I didn't know.
You probably thought that shit was cool. Yo, I'm managed by Walt Liquor. Motherfucker drunk as hell, like, yeah, go ahead, Jake. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he nice.
You know, you had to think in this time, you know, I didn't think I was going to make money on music like that. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a producer and make that a job. Like, nobody in Seattle was doing that. So,
Yeah.
you know, I was having jobs. I think I was a mailman during that time.
Except for Sir Mix-a-Lot.
I mean, Mix-a-Lot, getting plenty of money for sure. But, you know, I was just a regular working dude.
I mean, Vita had an early deal too, right?
He had a deal with Geffen, and I remember hearing when they came back with the demo, it just wasn't as good because they weren't doing the beats, or he wasn't doing the beats, and that was kind of the strength of the group, obviously. But you know, there wasn't this like you can go give beats to a bunch of people model at that point. That wasn't really going for somebody from Seattle. That wasn't something I even knew was possible.
Well, you said it too. It's like something that you had to learn from too. I mean, sometimes those are the keys, man. When you know you learn what to do through other people's hardships, I guess I would say, yeah, how to navigate.
For sure. Well, he was loyal because he had a crew, right? Whereas I had friends that were rappers, but they weren't serious about rapping, so it wasn't like I was abandoning them by giving their beat to somebody else. We were just fucking around. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whereas I think with like his situation, they really put a lot into it, you know?
So you said that you were an Insonic guy back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And you are known in the industry now still as an Insonic guy because I've seen you fly on that ASR 10. When did you pick up the ASR?
Oh, we know how you picked it up because
yes.
Well, I mean, you know, there has been. So I started with that 16 plus. It was probably about 95, and I liked it. I thought it was dope, but then I don't remember who the first person I saw with ASR was, but I just realized like, oh, it's just a more powerful version of the 16, the ASR. So I got the ASR. You know, it's funny. I had the ASR before Vita. Let's be clear on that too. I had it way before him. I had it maybe 2-3 years before him because he was using like a Roland W30 or something at that time. He had that shit knocking though. But yeah, maybe the one I have right now is his. I heard him say that, and I was like, he might be right. I don't even know. I mean, there's like varying broken ones, you know, like that I have. You know, I might have taken like the SCSI out of one and put in the other, you know, did a little open heart surgery.
That's something I haven't heard in a long time. SCSIs. Oh my God.
I mean, it's funny. Like, I don't really even use all that part of it anymore. But, you know, at one point that was like essential to the equation, right?
Oh, of course.
But yeah, I will say when Vita got the ASR, he taught me a couple of things where I was like, he was really into the effects. Like he would take like a stock keyboard sound. There was another dude named Maul around here that also was like making more West Coast like keyboard beats, and he would make his own sounds. We would get sounds from him. Like he'd have the funk sound and bass or whatever. I think that's what I played on Rock Cocaine Flow. Like one of those just really filtered down. Yeah.
Is it a comfort thing for you now? Because I see the videos and like you're still using it.
Yeah. I use it for small things because I think if I'm only just doing beats in there, there's like definitely a limit to it. So I might do like a real skeleton beat and then put it in Pro Tools and then put more sauce on it kind of thing, play on top of it, layer it just to make it sound bigger. Yeah, it's weird. Like I've definitely go through stages. I made a lot of beats on the computer too, but I like for people to not know if I don't want them to know I'm like making it on the computer or the ASR. Like I want them to be not to be able to hear the difference.
Until you do the beat breakdown, of course. And
well, you know, all right. So what's funny about the beat breakdowns I did one recently, and I did it on Pro Tools, and people were mad. I'm like, damn, like who fucking cares? Like, you like the song? Like, I don't care about all that shit. I made hundreds of thousands.
Where's the ASR?
I made thousands of beats on the ASR.
Yeah, man, and actually classic records. I mean, classic records are under your belt, man. Like, I think even before. I'm trying to think. Grind Date came out a certain year, but
I was like 2003-ish, I think, maybe 4.
2003, like and then I was hearing, I think it was the G Unit record.
Right, yeah, that was the first one I made that like actually did numbers. Where you're just like, oh, somebody's really making some money, you know, off whatever I did.
Somebody.
Was the G Unit joint your first real placement?
That's the first one I think that went platinum and stuff. I I had, it's crazy. There was a stage there where I probably had 2 years where I did so many songs for people that just didn't come out. And this was still early before Pro Tools. So like, I did like 3 songs for Most Def's second album that never came out. I did a Rod Digger song with Lloyd Banks back then that came out. That actually did come out. I think it's the first major label one I had. Man, but kind of, you would get paid back then. You get paid the first half at least, which was, something.
Yeah, we talked about that. You get the first half, and then
they had to pay you to record
down.
the song back then, even if they didn't know it was good. So like when Pro Tools came, then it was like, ooh, we just gonna record this shit, and if we're gonna decide after that if we like it, and then we'll pay you when the album comes out. Whereas before, they were really paying us, not even knowing what their voice would sound like on the record. Like that was happening a lot.
So at that time with G Unit, how'd you meet Sha Money? And I have a Sha Money story.
It's crazy that I had a lot of different managers and beat shopper dudes like that were giving beats to whoever. At that point I was just kind of like letting my beats fly.
Yeah.
And I ended up meeting Denon Porter from D12, who's like one of my favorite producers, and he came to Seattle for I don't know, whatever tour they had with Eminem in those days in G Unit, and took me backstage. He saw Sha Money and he was like, yo, you ever met Sha Money? I'm like, nah, but I heard he likes my stuff. So I meet Sha Money and he's like, yo, I've been trying to find you. Nobody will give me your info. And I was like, okay. So I give him beats that day. And maybe 2 months later, he calls me. He's like, you got a song on the soundtrack for Get Rich or Die Trying, and I want to manage you. So that was really where that whole thing started. And then I just was basically doing beats for them for the next 2-3 years. That was like my main thing.
That's how I become to know who Jake One was, because I, obviously looking at the credits, and I was like, who the hell is Jake One?
And everybody was trying to get on them records too. So like it was... Yeah. It was, and I would be up at the office when I would go to New York and I get to hear what everybody else was sending. So it let me know what how good my beats had to be to even compete in that space,
Oh man, yo. And when I tell you the joints that you did for G Unit and 50, man, I literally had to look on the credits like, who was doing this? Because, I they
stood out because I was real hip hoppy, right? Compared to like the other stuff, know?
There you go. Just rewinding back real quick to Sha Money. I have a Sha Money story, man. And your manager, Sha Money, and I, when we were interns at Def Jam.
Oh, wow.
We were interns at Def Jam together. And this is before he was just like, it was just me and him in like the mailing rooms.
Wow.
And we would have to mail shit. Like he worked for, I think, an A&R called Jazz. Her name was Jazz. I know, I think I'm right. But I was in there working for a homie named Baja Asali. And this is the old Def Jam office at 160 Varick.
Right.
About 90, this is 96. And it's me
That's
and Sha.
That's probably like when he did the Cormega song and stuff like that, because I know he did something
he was
Cormega
producing. I knew he was producing, but I didn't know at what level, obviously, because we were all doing underground stuff at the time. We used to be, and he'll get a kick out of this, I hope he hears it, we would be in there just praying that we can sell beats, because he would play me his beats, and I think he worked on, we both had 3000s at the time, MPC 3000s, and we just sit and play each other's music, and like we were supposed to be mailing shit off, you know what I'm saying, stuff it vinyl and everything, like we were two interns, and then I left Def Jam as an intern, and I started looking at records, and he was producing. I was like, wow, that really happened for him. And
he was never like, in the times I was around him, he just he liked doing beats, but he wasn't like focused on him. He had a lot going on.
He was focused.
The business side
then
just worked for him, so you just lean into it. But what was dope about him is, man, he would listen to anybody's shit. I mean, I was with him times where guys would give him a CD on the street, and then he'd play, and he'd be like, "Oh, this sucks, trash." Well, it's kind of good, like he really. And they discovered a lot of people. They really, what him and D Prosper are doing. Shout out to D Prosper, who's got his own thing going now with the Soul and the Horn and all that. D Prosper was an underground dude too. Like he was always trying to get them dudes to rap on Mad Lib beats and stuff. I remember Lloyd Banks in the office one time was like, "Man, why is there so much talking? Why can't I just rap on the beat?" So I think like that was that situation was probably the only commercial music situation that would have made any sense in, because we came from the same thing, right? We're about the same age. We like the same kind of hip hop, you know, and I would try to make my version of what they were doing just slightly different, you know, because I just had a different ear for it. You know, I didn't get to it wasn't like I was in the studio of Fifth or anything like that. I get to go in there with like Banks or Young Buck and stuff like that, but Fifth was just out of the question. You didn't really see him in those days.
I was going to ask that. Were you?
You know, I never even met him in person. I probably did over 10 songs for him.
Wow.
So yeah, it
still?
was, you know, I still never met him. Yeah.
Wow.
Damn.
And you got the record with Mary J.
Yeah, 50? I did. Well, I got 2 ones with Mary J with him. I'd say the one tragedy for me personally on G Unit was that I had this record called Be Easy that 50 had wrote that he put Mary on. And it was going to be his song. And then he decided he wanted this dude Hot Rod on it because he thought Hot Rod was going to be like his Chingy or something. This dude was he just wasn't it.
Yeah.
So they dropped the song. People loved the beat and it was a dud. But I thought the beat was a shit. I thought the hook was a shit. It just didn't work.
All of Me came out really dope.
All of Me came out good. I did feel it was kind of weird for her to be singing about a fiend on crack, but you know, it's probably that was probably 50's lyrics that he wrote. We did a lot of songs, man. Like there was a lot of records I did for him. Mixtape stuff, you know, nobody ever told me shit. I would just be like, I guess I got 3 on this one, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm actually really giddy, man. I mean, I know React's supposed to be asking questions, but just the maturation, man, like of Jake One, like what I'm hearing right now, and I look at your catalog. I mean, there's just so much music, and for a person to be once in Seattle, you know, Washington, and then, you know, doing underground records, and then all of a sudden it feels like, I know it's not overnight, and there's no overnight successes, but I'm looking at your discography, man. It's crazy. You know, you work with Ghostface, and obviously the De La record, you know, obviously one of the dopest records for Three Kings. Right. You've been in it for a long time, man. I don't think people really know that. Like, man, crazy. Like
it's crazy when I think about it. I mean, because I really am at the point, I'm like, damn, should I just retire? Like, I don't really know if I could do like, I feel like I can make beats that are better, kind of. I don't know. Like, they're just like, and that's kind of where Tuxedo happened. That was 2010. I did that. I felt that way at that point. And so you end up finding a new outlet for these things, and then it turns into its own thing. I feel like I've had like 3 or 4 different careers, honestly, and it's really like things work one way and I just push that way. You know, I never got big enough where I was like, could just tell motherfuckers what it's going to be. You know, I've been around the big dogs and I see them. Like, if I'm with Benny Blanco and he decides it's going to be this way, that's how it's going to be. I can't tell Rick Ross, like, yo, this is what we're doing today. Like, it doesn't work that way, right? So I'm like, always kind of just clawing my way around. You know what I mean? Like, I've been consistent and hit with a ton of them, but never all the way in control. You know what I mean? Never really ran any particular time. So it's also probably allowed people not to get tired of what I was doing, too.
We talk about the Rick Rosses and the Jay-Z's and the 50 Cents and the Freeways and all those dudes and just super hip hop. And then there's John Cena. So I'm just curious to know how that came about. Are you a WWE fan?
So, you know, I was really a NWA, WWF fan. You know, I was a kid, but I tapped out on that in probably like 87 or something. You know what I mean? So John Cena happened because the aforementioned Walt Liquor was at KMEL one day in the Bay, and John Cena was there, and he gave him a beat tape, and that's really how it happened.
Yo, word.
It's really how it happened.
Talking about divine intervention, bro. That was just, oh man. I told my son I was meeting with the guy who did this, and he was like,
You can't see me, my time is now. In case you forgot or fell.
Were you surprised that he took this beat?
Man, I don't really remember. I remember, all right, so there, I think on the album I ended up doing 3 songs. One of them was like a horrible fake G Unit beat that just was like such a turd. That one I listened to recently and was just crying, laughing. That was definitely the best beat out of the ones he had picked from me. I wanted to give it to Ghostface. It's really who I made it, hoping I would get it to, but I wasn't connected in those days, right? I didn't have that reach, but that's who I heard on it. When I heard the song, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, yo, this shit ain't bad. Like, your expectation is clearly not good, right, for something like that. And I was like, man, this shit is kind of okay. And the crazy thing is, I remember thinking like, he's got his boy on there. I'm like, but he sounds better than his boy. Like, that's not supposed to be that way.
I know that publishing check must be crazy.
And unfortunately, it's another one. Like, I signed a bad deal. Like, they basically were like, you take the money or just don't do it. Like Vince McMahon.
No.
I think his daughter has the publishing. I don't know. I mean, it was like 2 samples, whatever. I mean, so yeah, I'm not making no money on that.
You said whose daughter now? John's daughter?
No, Vince McMahon. I don't think John makes shit. I don't think Cena makes nothing on that either. Like, he told me he didn't even own his name.
What?
I remember when we talked about it back then.
Wait a minute. So let me get this correct. You're not seeing any money from that record.
I don't get nothing. So back then it was like, I think he had picked 6 beats and they were going to pay me $60,000, right? And it was like, you either just take this $60,000 or just don't do it. It's just how it was. And I think I was working a job making $25,000. So I took the money, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And who would have known the thing? I mean, who would have known it would have turned into this at the same time?
That's crazy, man.
When I think about it and I hear it, I also think like, damn, man, I'm lucky that wasn't the last one, because a lot of people only get one, right? So I was really fortunate to make a bunch of others, and make it up in the end. But
it's amazing when you're able to look at it. I mean, do you have kids?
I have one kid. Yeah, I have a daughter. So
okay.
Yeah.
So
and she knows that one because it's one of those ones, right?
So that's what it's all about. That legacy, man.
And I tell her we're not making no money on it, and she trolls me about it. So
she's probably looking at you like,
I'm like, I don't know why you're talking crazy, because you're missing money in the future.
Yeah, man. The whole licensing stuff, man. I mean, it's a different world. I mean, I'm sure that because you've done music for the Fast and Furious. I think it was the Tokyo one, and then also Gone Baby Gone. You've done music on.
It's funny. Tuxedo was the first happy music I made. So, like, I mean, that shit just went stupid on licensing because of that, right? Like, I didn't even think, I never had thought about that before. And I was like, damn, why was I making all this dark shit all the time? There's no money in that, But yeah, but just talk about like musical range, dude. Like how you could go from like white van music to, to a record like Second Time Around or Number One. Right. I started doing Tuxedo purely as just doing something that wasn't for money, right? Like it was because I felt like there was a point where I'm just cranking out beats like, I got to get this off to this person. 50 likes these kind of beats, let's do this for a month or whatever, straight. Mm-hmm. And that was just something I was doing fucking around.
How'd you meet Mayor?
I met Mayor because
Mayor Hawthorne, people were talking about Mayor Hawthorne, very talented writer and singer. So
Mayor Hawthorne, he wasn't a singer at this point, he was just a DJ, and I was doing these like funk mixes of these kind of songs, but like real, on some Crate Digger shit where we're using, I might put like a Blue Magic song from '83 on the mix because I had never heard it, and that's what I liked at that time. So he was into this same shit, and I can't remember how Shoes told me about him, and that's really how we met. He was a beat maker, really, though, at that point, and then he played me his demo he did singing. I was like, this shit is kind of good. Like, you might have something with it, right? And I started making these beats. The early Tuxedo beats, and he would send me songs back, and that's really how it started. Like, it wasn't really meant to be a group necessarily at the time.
Yeah, I came across Mayor Hawthorne through his mixes, and he had like because they're like Stone's Throw mixes, and there was a whole bunch of them, and he was playing like fire, like like funk and like records I never heard too, like rare records, and they were fucking dope. I was like, and then all of a sudden, I think he had like just released like one of his first solo albums, and I was like, this motherfucker sing too, he crooning, and it was just, I played it for my pops. And my pops was like, "Yo, this shit is crazy," and then and then all of a sudden, man, when I heard that you two were together, I was like, "Wait a minute, you mean the Jake one from the Jake one who did Rock Cocaine and all the G Unit stuff and like white fan music?" And when I heard it, man, when I heard it was Do It. When I heard Do It, man, I was like, "Oh my God, man!" Just talking about the musicality, I wanted to ask you about that earlier. You know, you said that you were hanging around, you know, those guys were musicians, but you play keys. And you play a little bit.
I've learned it. So what's funny is I moved to the Bay in 2006 when I quit my job. That's the last time I had a job, was into 2005 when Shaw Money became my manager. I probably had the Cena money or something. I was feeling good. I was like, man, fuck this job.
Had that first grand in the bank, like 100 grand, like
I was feeling rich at the time. But I moved down there and I was like, I'm gonna give myself a couple of years to really try, you know. So I ended up meeting this guy named G Coop, who was like teaching a homie of mine piano lessons. So I started taking piano lessons from him. And G Coop was the first dude that I was around that was into like vintage keyboards and guitars and amps and all this stuff, right? And he ended up playing on all my shit around that time. He played on all the white band music stuff, with live stuff. And, you know, I just got like a rudimentary feel for, you know, some basic theory. And what's crazy, G Coop ended up doing Bad and Bougie. He ended up doing It's a Vibe. I mean, we did feature stuff together, you know, a couple of other ones you'd be surprised by, but that's really where it started. And once I could play a couple of chords, I always was into G-Funk. I love West Coast stuff, right? Man. And this was kind of my outlet to do that, you know?
Well, I can hear it, man, because coming up in my house, it was all funk. And when I listen to the Tuxedo records, I'm telling you, man, I am a super fan of Tuxedo, man.
Thank you.
Do It. I thought, you know, I was like, damn, I want to be in a video. That video looked fun. You know, they got people dancing and shit. I was like,
I wasn't even at that video. I'm always telling them, like, I shouldn't even be in the video. Our biggest song, I wasn't there. I don't need to be in the video. But yeah.
Can you run that record, React? That I just love this record.
I got a new one for you. I like the way that sounds. I'm about to do it for you. I like to break it down. This joint has got me open. Ooh, that's my favorite song. I put my thing in motion. I do it all night long.
To say my woo. Yeah, man. Yo, just incredible, man. Like the pocket that you're in, and even when the chorus comes on, you know, just like I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is Jake One? Like,
I mean, it was surprising to me, honestly. And I think, you know, with Tuxedo, we weren't really just trying to make like a record from 1982, right? Like I think the G-Funk part was a big reason. We wanted to make something that sounded like Dog Pound with a sample. Right. That was really, you know, is Battle Cat going to like this?
But it sounds new.
You know, we wanted it to sound new and something, you know, that's I think what made it different because we came from that hip hop. Like Mayor's group was signed to Barack. You know what I mean? He did scratches on Slum Village songs. So like he come from that. I think that's what made us like unique and come with something different. And the funny thing is, we were sitting on a lot of those songs for some years because his solo career was so big. Management wasn't really like, I don't know, should we even try this? This is weird. This is different. And I want to say like Get Lucky came out and Bruno Mars Treasure, and we're like, damn, this is kind of like in the zone.
That same lane, yeah.
I don't want to make it seem like we bit them, so we just dropped the 3 songs and it just took off. Yeah, just put them on SoundCloud.
Man. Tuxedo was so fire, and then I didn't believe it was you until I saw you in the tuxedo. You were in the baby blue old school tux.
Yeah, they had me in some crazy. Yeah, I'm not the right. I definitely wasn't the costume director.
You don't ball in a tuxedo, right?
Nah, I don't know if I could get a shot off with one of those things on. Like isn't there like an old school? Some of those early Nike posters, I feel like one of them was in a tuxedo. Maybe it was George Gervin or somebody.
Oh, yeah. No, it wasn't the Iceman, but
it's a different one that somebody is in. Like, one of the original Nike posters, I felt like one of them's in a tuxedo. I don't remember who it was, though.
Well, I know. I mean, if there was ever a poster that probably had a suit on, was Clyde Frazier or something like that. It's like cool shit. But he had the fur coat and everything.
Yo, you see his fits for the playoffs, boy? Clean.
He's been turning up.
Your hoop game, like you are a fan of basketball, and then a fan of basketball.
I'm a diehard. Yeah.
But Vita said that you got game, and I said, get that.
I mean, if you could imagine like Khalid Al-Amin and like JJ Redick put together, then that's probably how I play. Like,
okay. Right. I had a few. Had a few brothers tell me, when he said, when Vita said this shit was wet, pause, because he said,
Come on, man, we know what that means.
I know, right? I'm tired. I'm tired of playing this game. Mint Plus, because we call him, the producer Mint Plus, man. He don't play that, man. So when we did the Vita clip, he was like, man. He's like, man, Jake was wet. Vita's
I never considered that, man.
Mint Plus said this whole thing with just a whole bunch of pause signs, like whoa, fire. But your hoop game, man, like I kind of believe it now, man.
I'm a decent player. If somebody's not very good that's guarding me, I can score a lot of points. But you put a real basketball player, I'm probably not able to even get the ball at this point, but I still love to get out there and sweat. And it's crazy. Like I play with a lot of other producers and rappers and shit. Like when I'm in LA, I play with Benny Blanco. I play with DJ Khalil, DJ Dahi.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you said Dahi. Dahi's
pretty good, actually. Dahi's not bad. He's a little younger, so it's not fair. When dudes are younger,
they got that run. Young. Yeah. Dahi's actually sends joints to my young nephew Tone Clef, who's a writer. They've worked on stuff.
Dope.
But Dahi's dope too, man.
Dahi's a talented guy.
Getting back real quick, I'm at the rewind back because you have done a ton of records, man, and really just incredible music that will age well. I promise you, bro. Your music is going to age well. We got to talk about the Rock Cocaine record, man, because like I said before, it is definitely the hardest joint. It's in my top 3.
Wow.
Literally.
Thank you, man.
It is. I would say maybe, Pete Rock's Shut 'Em Down remix.
Damn. It's good company.
Joints that, just want to make me want to punch somebody in the face.
Annie Up.
Annie Up.
And Rock Cocaine.
Good. Man. For real, man. I mean, there's a couple Just Blaze records that go hard too. Like, PS, I mean, of course, PSA's like, You Don't Know, crazy hard too.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'd say like You Don't Know in that era, the Rockefeller stuff even inspired that breakdown, because that's really what I was going for. Because they had the big dramatic intros with the kicks and stuff. And I just played with the tempo. That was really the only thing that was different about it. I don't know what made me do that. Honestly, I don't.
React and I are actually very curious to know about the publishing of that record.
That was not a great publishing split for me and the guys.
Okay.
The guys from Space, I think, took 90% of the publishing, from what I remember. I haven't looked; it's been a minute, but
that's crazy.
Do you think they deserve 90%? Like, because I don't. I feel like
no, absolutely not.
If we did that now, probably would have had somebody in there re-singing. Who fucking knows? But probably wouldn't have been as great though either. So like, I don't know. You win some, you lose some with that. That's the thing with sampling. It's kind of just out of your control once you do that. You know what I mean? And sometimes it works out great. Sometimes you get fucked.
Yeah. Were you in the studio for that session?
I was not. They came to town. They came to Seattle, and I handed them a beat CD back then, and that's how it happened. My boy John Moore introduced me to him. He was really close with Mace, and
okay.
I want to say they picked like 4 or 5 beats, and that was one of them. I remember being surprised by that because it just did not seem like something they would rap on. But I remember when they did it, they were like, Pops was like, "Yeah, this song's really good. It's pretty good, man. I think you're gonna like it." I was like, "All right, dope."
It wound up being seriously, top 3 hardest records to date.
I mean, I was just hyped because like De La is my favorite group. So like, De La Soul's Dead, when I first started making beats and getting, even knowing what samples were, I feel like that was one of the early ones. It was like listed the samples like Lou Donaldson, Potbelly contains, and I'm like, I gotta find this record, or Edna Wright. I'm looking everywhere for this shit. I didn't find it back then, right?
Yeah.
So they were like instrumental in me even getting to that place.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You even said Lou Donaldson, because the last interview we did with Vitamin D, he said that that Jake One was like into like looping like Crusaders jazz samples, blah blah blah. And I said Lou Donaldson. He said I don't even think he was onto that yet. But you said Lou Donaldson. I mean, that's really dope because Potbelly was the record.
Yeah. Those are the standard ones, right? Ode to Billy Joe, Potbelly. So like,
yes,
I was really like just wanted those back then. They just set me on that journey, and I was just a super fan. So to make something for them that they were like ending shows with and all that, it just blew my mind to this day.
Yo, the first time I ever heard Rock Cocaine, I was with you, Eddie.
Say word.
Yep, I remember. That's the type of impact that shit had.
Damn.
I remember. Damn. Yeah, I remember where I was, who played it for me, and like I lost my fucking mind. I was in your crib.
Just to know, man. I mean, listen, man. I mean, people, if you can see Jake's, he got the smile on his face because he knew he is forever imprinted. It's stamped into hip hop, classic records. People for real, classic producer.
That's what that's what you hope to do, right? Is make something that like impacts people. Like you don't really think it could happen, but like anytime I do one that I'm like, damn, that shit's just ubiquitous in life, like where random people know it, and I don't have to tell you what. Like for me, I'm always been the kind of person like if I meet somebody, I'm not gonna be like, tell them what I do. I don't like have a manuscript of like every song I produce. Like I don't know. I just feel like when people ask me, it sounds stupid when I tell them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, cool, you do music. They probably, they don't really think I, so like, they're like, really you work with anybody I ever heard of, and I'm just like, and I'll just I tell them like probably a lot. Yeah, I just don't
probably everybody.
I don't want to fire names off at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Drake. You start with Drake.
When I tell like a stranger that I make music and the level I do it at, and what I do, it's nothing really good ever comes of it for me. You know what I mean? It's like listen to my son's guitar demo, whatever it is.
Well, you know why? I mean? You know why? Because we're all wearing dad hats in here.
That's right.
We all like super dads. Like Jake One looks like for real like somebody's. We're all dads, but Jake really looks like prototypical.
I'm all in on it, man. I come on. I went to the golf course twice today. Like I'm all.
Oh shit.
I'm all the way invested at this point.
I was going to ask you what your handicap is too.
I mean, my handicap's kind of rough still. I'm 3 years in, but I'm like a 13 handicap now.
Okay.
But I've been working at it.
Shit.
It's the first new hobby I had probably since I started making beats. I'm not gonna lie. So
I got a whole case of Titleist in here, man. You want them?
It's crazy. I will say the coolest thing happened to me in that front. This week I got like invited to play on somebody's like TV show golf thing, and they're giving me free clubs, and I was like, yeah, all right, this is good now. I'm down with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's what's up.
man. That's dope, man. Any upcoming projects, man? I mean, I know you got the whole. First of all, I like to give you props, man, and I like to give you, I don't want to, sound like any other shows out here, but yeah, you do deserve your flowers in real time. I mean, people just Google Jake One and just look at his discography. It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
It's been a good run. I'm just I think the hardest thing when you have success like that is just, you're just chasing that same high, right? You make a big song, You're like, damn, I got a big one right now, so I got to make another one. And it finds me, I can't really even try to do it necessarily. You just got to keep working, and hopefully this shit aligns and you catch one, But it's weird. I mean, because I've had this like other thing, like doing a bunch of trap songs, and like for some people, that's what I do. I'm like I met the guy from White Man Can't Jump, Jack Harlow, right? When I met him, he's like, man, you're a dope ass loop maker. And I was like, yeah, I'm good at that too. Where, he didn't know about no damn Rock Cocaine Flow or even John Cena, right?
Yeah, right. Hey, listen, Jack Harlow, Jack Harlow, you better Google fucking Jake One.
Jack could rap, man.
Jack can rap, but come on, listen, Jack Harlow, you I'm telling you, just Google Jake One and go to that discography, pal. You missing out on a whole catalog of heat.
So for me, it's like I get a kick out of doing what people don't expect me at this point. Like when I do a song for Playboy Cardi, I just think it's hysterical. I'm not gonna lie. I find that more entertaining than doing another real hip hop song because I hadn't done it. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm out of place in that world, and I like that feeling.
But it's a beautiful thing,
and it's a very similar thing with Tuxedo too, right? I mean, it's like just doing things that I genuinely love that aren't necessarily what I've done before.
Are you still in love with it?
Depends on the day, man. I'm not gonna lie. I spend less and less time, I feel like, making music, but I think I'm really efficient at this point at just sitting down and making something. What turns into the song that ends up being the special one is only partly me, right? So like, it's on the artist to come up with the right hook or the right personality, timing. All these things mean so much, and there's so many people that have really good beats out there, but you gotta like catch the songs, because in the end, that's all they're gonna care about. Like, what's your top 20 songs you made, right, or top 50 or whatever. And I love hearing beats as much as anybody. So, but at a certain point, I realized it was more about that, instead of making like, I chopped this one the most. Like, me and Vita used to battle on like, man, what's your I want to be your lover beat looking like? And he would make one. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Or we were doing this in like 2005, we were doing all these in 2005. We even had a tape we were doing together back then called Slaps Like Ike, which would not be appropriate now. But it was a lot of like Ike Turner audio.
Nah, it's okay. I think it's kind of, I mean, we're okay. A beat tape called Slaps Like Ike. I mean, come on. I mean, it's still hip hop. It's comedy. Play out. Come on. I'm sure Tina Turner won't like that, bro.
Yeah, she probably wouldn't feel that one. So like the beat I did for Freeway where I fricked the Rick James, that was for that originally, and then I used it on that. Or crazy. I did an intro to Snoop's album 10 years ago that I used Knee Deep on. That was my flip of Knee Deep. It just, for me, and then I turned into like, I want to flip it and nobody ever know what I even did with it, because I'm trying to get all I'm not trying to give up the pub if I did something creative.
Hell yeah.
I'm not going to give it up to you. You know what I mean? Man,
Charlemagne was here and said the same shit.
Yeah, our producer Charlemagne and real Charlemagne. Yeah, he was good with that.
Well, I think that's where we turned into, right? Because you see that first check, you're like, ooh, I miss how much money because they took all the publishing. And then you're like, it made us better. It really made us better. and it coming up with ways to hide what we were doing and be tricky, and it just increased the art, increased the skill level you had to have to do that.
That's what I say. Catch me if you can, because I'm a man on the records, and I'll filter it and take little notes or key it down crazy, like
right.
Yeah, man, I get it, man.
But sometimes, we just gonna loop something too. Like I think you can't really go into it being like, I'm worried about samples today. Like I just make the music I like making. We deal with it later. I mean, I had the biggest record of my career like in 2021, and that motherfucker had an uncleared sample on it because we couldn't find the dude. And the song blew up, and he came, and we dealt with it.
Wait a minute, were you nominated for Grammy nods?
Yeah, it was for that record. I've been nominated, I think, 13 times.
13, holy
maybe
shit.
13 over. Yeah, I've only won one time though. I've only won once. I was hoping to lose 20 times. I wanted to go over 20. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that would have been tight.
Please tell the audience.
Well, the one I won for was I co-produced a song on the Weeknd Starboy album with Benny Blanco. And
is that Grammy in the house? Is it around?
Nah, all right, so here's some other fuckery about the Grammys. If it all depends on what category you're in, whether you get the actual physical one. You know what I mean? So
really?
I probably got like a paper one somewhere around here.
Yeah, they give you the certificate on wall, stuff like that.
Yeah, put on the wall.
I know, right?
Anyways, I had somebody else tell me they roll their weed up in those, but I don't smoke weed, so it's not something I would do. I want to say on our second album, on the sticker on the album, because I think Drew had lost 1 or 2 Grammys at that point. We put like 7-time Grammy losing duos back or something on Tuxedo too.
You know what? And that's what I want to say. I'm glad you brought that up because, man, like the Tuxedo, man, you guys are on an incredible tear, man. You started off in 2015. You made an album every 2 years. To 2019.
Yeah,
with 3.
Now we 4 years since the last one. I mean, pandemic definitely like threw us out of whack because we usually make the records together, so we just weren't together as much. But we've been working on the new one. Hopefully next year. It's the interesting thing with having a side group is that we don't really need each other to survive, right? So he's having success with his, I'm having success, I'm happy for him, but at the same time I'm like, I don't need your ass, we're not gonna fight, you know what I mean? Like, so we get together.
That's a beautiful thing now.
It's really like a vacation kind of vibe, you know what I mean? Like we're kicking it, we just went to Tokyo and did like a week of shows out there and had a ball.
I saw on your IG that you guys were rehearsing for some shows coming up. I think it's in Cali coming up, maybe.
We did a week in Tokyo, and then we did a show in San Diego. We got a couple other ones.
San Diego show. So you did that show already.
Yeah. I had to like go on a hard crash, like 3-month diet to like fit into my tuxedo. Because
definitely weren't shooting J's.
Oh man, I was really out there playing hard. Like I was playing defense and stuff. Like I don't know.
Right, with them young cats running around you and shit.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you gotta be listen. Those joints, pause. I mean, they don't work as good these days. You gotta be careful out there, man. You don't. I don't want to put it in the air.
I'm not trying to be I don't want to be the dude out there with the Achilles tear. I'm really working hard.
I wasn't gonna say it. I don't want to say it. I was gonna say you better be careful because that shit will roll up like a lampshade, bro. Like for real. Like you don't want that. And that's the only thing I was thinking about. Any advice for young producers coming in, man?
Man, it's such a different game at this point that it's really hard to tell people or even know what the approach is, because there's dudes that are like producer influencers that don't have any songs that I've heard of, but they're popping, right? Whereas, from my era, it's like, well, what songs did you do? If for me, if somebody didn't do a song that I was like, oh, fuck, I wish I'd have made that, then I don't really look at them that way. You know what I mean? That was like the only tier of like what, the guys we look to. But man, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I feel like there's more money in music than there ever was. I mean, it's easier to get direct to the money. All these things have changed. If you do have something that's successful, they can't hide the money from you because we got this thing with the plays and We know what
That's
it
right.
generates. It's not like when you had the goons, like, charging to get the CDs in Best Buys, and the union wanted their money to push the CDs over here. Like, all that shit was swallowing up all the bread that was supposed to come to us, So streaming might pay small for what it is, but it's all profit. So it's just a different thing.
Yeah.
So if you have something successful, you really can win right now, which is beautiful.
Are you opposed to the easy popcorn bubblegum music? I mean, are you, like...
Man, I've tried. I think because that's just not what I came up on, or I never listened to it. I've had opportunities. I haven't come with the right thing. I've tried though. It's not in my wheelhouse.
I mean, I think it's kind of gray now, a little gray area right now going on.
Right.
And I heard your recent records, using different sounds, 808s and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, this shit sounds really fucking dope.
Right.
And it's yours. It sounds like you wear many hats when it comes to production, man. That's the beauty about your music, man. As I listen to, did my homework, and I've been listening to your music throughout the years, and your beat tapes, the white fan music, and then the pray emoji hands beat tape, which shout out to House Shoes, right?
Yep, House Shoes, and my boy Frank.
Yeah, so many levels. Yeah, man. I mean, you're in a good spot, man. I just, I admire producers like yourself, man, who are able to just 1 minute do what was mentioned again, rock cocaine, and then turn around and do a record with 21 Savage. You know what I'm saying? And then Tuxedo Records.
Right.
That's what I said earlier, man. It's the range for me that gets me.
Yeah.
We speak to a lot of dudes. And you're welcome.
I will say, I don't think many people have a discography that touch these different kind of people that I have done at this point, and big records, man. Not just like, random ones. So, and I wish I could say I was really trying to do that every time, but it just worked out that way. I feel like any of the stuff that I did was successful is because I just did what I wanted to do. As soon as like it turns into, yo, man, can you do this particular? I just don't want to do it. I don't know. It's like turns it into a job. You know what I mean? Like I need to be feeling like it's my idea, whatever it is.
And speaking of which, a regular day for Jake One, do you still do music on a regular, or you come home and work on joints, or?
I usually, drop my kid off at school. I might go play golf for a while, and then at some point I'll usually turn the equipment on and work for an hour or two. It just depends. Okay. Some days I'll go hard. Some days I just like don't feel like doing it. I will go like a week without making a beat sometimes though. So it's just kind of as I feel it, For me, that's what seems to work. I don't the pressure. I don't like that part. I don't like going to the studio with people. I'm just like, I'm over all that.
I feel you.
You know what I mean? Just want to kind of be in my bubble. I think the pandemic made me realize like that was better for me, and I had more success doing it. So it was like, I guess. Yeah. That part of it, it just reaffirmed it.
As Vitamin D would say, the Great Reset.
I mean, it's weird. Before 2020, I was doing Tuxedo, and then I was doing a lot of that trap stuff where I'm just doing the music. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm just not like a dude that makes a full beat no more. Like I thought, like maybe that's just over for me.
No,
and then 2020, cool. I got back into it. For some reason, I just caught the bug again, and I started doing full beats again. So it's like. I think just sitting in the house and having all that time was nice for sure.
There's so many, especially up in your area too, man. Shouts to Deli, got beats, and do you have a funny Eric G story?
I definitely not the one that Vita has, but I was definitely there, like when Eric G first came out and then was doing the beat battles and stuff. But we have a lot of other dudes that people don't even know are from here. Like this dude named Malay, he played on some of my early stuff. He's from out here, and he produced the whole Channel Orange Frank Ocean album. Like talented ass musician.
No way!
Yeah.
You hear that?
That was one of my proteges. Yeah.
Did you hear that, Justin? My son Justin is a Frank Ocean fanatic, bro. Hardcore.
There are some of my drums on that album too. Before I even put Snare Jordan out. Because I had given him to Malay. Yeah.
That is so dope, man. Speaking of which, man, I got a bone to pick with you, brother.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. I bought all of the snare Jordans, right?
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I did all of them. I own them all. I even own Prayer Emoji. And all I ever wanted out of all those dope sounds that you gave us is I just wanted the real snare to rock cocaine.
It's not
you
in
didn't
there?
put it in there. No, I feel as though like.
Do you want me to tell you what it is? Because I know you have the record.
Yeah.
Don't say it on here because they're gonna sue for the other 3% of the publishing.
Yeah. Off.
Are you gonna bleep it?
Yeah, we can do it. Definitely.
All right, so I'm pretty sure this is what it is. There's an open snare like at the beginning of the song. That's all it is. But it's because it's layered with that other thing. You know what I mean? That's what makes it.
Yeah. You
you
gave me the hi-hat. I was like, okay, that sounds like the hi-hat and maybe the kick.
I mean, I bounced it straight off the session. So whatever. I mean, that's when I was doing those. That's all I did was just take them from the session.
You gave us the.
He said, "I want that snare raw."
Yeah. You know what? I didn't plan. I don't know. That's the funny thing about production. And I was like, I want it. And then at the end of the day,
you would never use it, but you just wanted to hit it.
Yeah. Because I would be like, all right, well, I'm gonna do it because it's gonna sound like rock cocaine anyway, and that's not fresh.
No, I'm telling you, it's gonna different. The funny, I didn't want to do those at first because I was worried people were going to sound like me, but then I would hear people's beats and I'm like, shit, that don't sound like me at all. So it's just all sounds, right? And then there's some songs that like, I literally feel like I'm responsible for it because I use my drum loop on it or whatever. And I'm like, damn, I should have got co-production on that bitch. It's literally a loop I made.
Any sound design, any more coming up in the future?
Yeah, I got a new sample kit that I did with this dude Cornell that's really dope. This coming soon. More like, I think Snare Jordan 9, I'm gonna probably drop that for the people.
Dope.
It's crazy. Those early ones, man, I feel like I was selling more of those than people were selling albums. Like, I mean,
Woo,
we were doing numbers on some because it was nobody doing it at that point. You know what I mean? It was really early. And I only did the video showing the beat making to promote Snare Jordan. I would have never done that, right? So I didn't realize that was going to be such a big thing.
Yeah, you were like first generation kits. You had your kits and just a plethora of kits, and then you had and then just the beat breakdown. I enjoy the beat breakdowns, man. It's just that's one of those things. Like I didn't know that like when I met like a lot of these young trap producers and just people you wouldn't expect, people like, yo man, I love your videos. And I'm like, word, you know about this? So and I think that the thing that's kind of misleading about the videos is like, it makes it seem like it's just magic. You know what I mean? Like clearly I had to think about how to do these in the first place, but it seems simple to just recreate it. Right. Absolutely.
But to find the right 7 sounds is the difficult thing. Right.
We're talking about just amazing records, man. I mean, I think my favorite one, obviously, is the Rock Cocaine one, but the second one was definitely the Three Kings record.
That one definitely got me in a lot of other places. Like I look at songs sometimes that way, where like when that hit, I definitely had other guys coming to me like, yo, I need one of those, like big rappers. So, and that led to the next song.
Have you met Dr. Dre?
I met Dr. Dre, multiple times. I was in a production deal with them in like 2008. I don't know, whenever White Van Music around that time was. Yeah. So Three Kings was one of the songs for that, for Detox. And that's how that even happened in the first place. But yeah, I got if they ever let the vault go, you're going to hear some of my music that's really good.
My God.
Does Detox exist, or is that like a myth?
I mean, there's definitely been iterations of it, right?
Hell yeah.
The iteration that I was, hell yeah.
That's your answer.
I mean, the funny thing is one of my biggest, one of my favorite memories in my career was like mixing the song off my album Home. And I think Ish was there from Diggable. Invited was mixing it, and Dr. Dre called. He called my phone, right? And I put him on speakerphone, and the studio we're at had a big ass picture of him on the wall. And I was like, this is crazy. It's like he's talking to us.
Like God.
It was like he was like God, for real.
He said, hell yeah.
I don't know if did he get a hell yeah? Maybe. I want more hell yes from him. Like that's what I want out of him rapping. I need a hell yeah. That is what I want. So yeah, I did a lot of songs for him, man. There was I don't know, 10 to 20 like that were cut. What? Yeah.
Wow.
And the era I was there was like Knots was doing a lot of stuff. DJ Khalil was like the one who was killing everybody at that time.
You got Focus and yeah.
Focus
Just-
for sure.
just
Denon,
great.
High Tech. When I got that call, it just made me feel like I belonged because those are the guys
You
I
do.
wanted to be. Yeah.
Absolutely,
And
you
at
do,
that time,
Jake.
I wasn't sure. You know what I mean? Like I'm still trying to figure it out. This is 2008. I think that was the ultimate validation. To get like your hero want to sign you up and shit. It was like, and it's not like I wouldn't say I sat in the studio and learned a lot from him because I didn't really like making beats in front of people or on demand like that. But that he was even just checking for me like that, I felt like I made it. You know what I mean? Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Word up. Man, Jake. Man, this has been a great interview, man. Oh man. We are so blessed, man. As you know, we're still in our infancy stage of doing this, man. And it really means a lot that you came on, and all the producers. We all appreciate everybody. But man, we got more Tuxedo. We got any side projects you're doing?
The big one I got coming is me and Freeway are doing the part 2 to stimulus package. So a lot of that's pretty much done. It's just getting it mixed and stuff. But that I think is going to come this year. I did another album with a kid out of Seattle named Travis Thompson. I got songs with everybody like sitting on drives right now, but like what's coming besides that, I'm not in charge of. It's funny. Like I'll be thinking like, damn, I've been real lazy. I haven't been working. And then I'll think like, oh shit, I got multiple albums done. Like, what am I talking about?
Absolutely.
But I think this is what all producers do. We're real, it's easy to just get knocked off of your shit. You'd be like, oh, I got it all in control. Oh no, I suck. I can't make nothing good. So this is just, I think all of us go through it and, just getting that validation from people that really come from it. You're just like, yeah, I guess I am doing the right thing over here. You know what I mean?
Well, I tell you what, man, I'm living vicariously through all you guys because, like I'm just talking to you, man, and talking to the other producers, man. Like, man, like when I see your discography and not even your discography, when I listen to your music, man, because before I even knew who you were, I was just like, we felt it right off the bat. I felt it right off the bat. Pause. You don't understand, man. I got mint pause out there, mint plus, man. Like, yo, son, mad.
Well, I think what you guys have that's like interesting and different is like obviously we're of the same era. You guys are a little older, but like there's
React is the youngest.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm definitely the youngest. Yeah, I'm 30.
Right. He's like, fuck that. That's not me. But like, we're not going to have, like the newer generation isn't going to know what the struggle it is to just make a 4-bar loop of anything or a 1-bar loop. So like, I think it gives context to like music that was made in the earlier days to like even know what the equipment was, because we can't just, I'll think about how easy it is to loop some. You can put a whole song on beat now. Like, putting 4 bars on beat was like a real accomplishment at one point.
I just sighed, bro. It was so hard. It was so hard, bro.
So like it sounds crazy, but this also like there's not much of an excuse. And I talked to Vita about this a lot and DJ Khalil. It's like if you're not good in this phase of what we have to work with for technology, then you just don't got it. Like, there's no excuse to not be good. You can put a graph up to tell you what the right note is. You can make it so you don't hit a bad note. All these things are there for you.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, because we said, you just answered for all you up and coming producers. What he just said is the gem and the jewel right there. It's set up for you to succeed.
Yep.
Period. Everything.
And now there's stems too, bro.
Come on,
remember how hard,
right,
how hard it was? How hard it was for us to work around the drums and then chop the sample to get it right.
Another thing that I felt like I brought to the game was I was arguably the first dude using stems, like in 2007, 8. Like, I mean, we met a homie that was working at Concord, my boy Caslow, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I got these Isaac Hayes stems," and I was like, "What?" And so me and Vitamin thought like, "Oh, we could make our own thing now, right? Ooh, I could just take the flute from Look of Love." That's what I wasn't thinking like, "Oh, I'm just gonna take the drums or whatever." I just thought like, "Oh, I could combine all the different things and chop them different to make my own music," right?
Yeah.
And that was like, I feel like that took what I was doing to a whole different tier. I got so much better with just that. Right. And then I turned into the dude that was like getting some of these labels to come up off of this shit. I mean, I even see some of the stuff that people have. I'm like, damn, I sourced that. Like, I should have not let nobody get that shit. Nobody would have to be able to make this beat. You know what I mean? So, it had to turn that way at a certain point, because shit just got crazy. But, that alone. And now, we got Serato stems, we got Lala, we got RX-7. I mean, these are making songs possible that weren't possible before. I couldn't have made Private Ballet for Larry June without that shit. You know what I mean? Like that I could just, I don't want the drums in there. So let me just, now I can put my own drums on there and make it hit, get the fidelity right, play around it. We couldn't do that before. So you got to use these new things with our old thinking sometimes. You know what I mean? I think that's what makes it special.
I'm glad you told me that because I'm still learning. How about that, man? At my age,
all should be. You know what inspired me a lot on that front was Lord Finesse. So me and Lord Finesse are pretty close. And he's
Lord Finesse.
He might only be like 5 years older than me or something, but like I think of him as being hella older than me because he had records out of 16, right? Yeah. And this dude's the one showing me like the trick on Ableton. You know what I mean? Like he still has that thirst for knowledge. Oh yeah. He showed me a couple things that I implemented. And he has beats that I don't know what he's doing with all this stuff, but like he has amazing beats he's just sitting on now.
Lord Finesse is an enigma, man, for real. That guy, man.
Super fucking dope DJ too.
Oh, very dope ill DJ.
I was talking to Vita about this, and I think he might have the highest cumulative score for all three. Like to be like that good at rapping, that good at beats, and actually, and a great DJ. Like he might not be the best at any of them, but if we talking all three put together, most guys. I don't know who else could do that as good as that.
Jake, I don't want to take much of your time up. We don't want to take much of your time up, man. It has been a pleasure talking to you, man. It's so much knowledge and so much history, from your beginnings to your discography, man. It's exhausting looking at your discography, but it is. And I was like, but it's all good music that's going to age well for the ages, man. And React and I, we really appreciate you coming on to the Chop Shop, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Jake Uno, Snare Jordan, White Man Can't Jump is coming out soon now. He's in it.